Twilight tells the story of a teenage girl who falls in love with a mysterious boy, only to discover that he belongs to a dangerous supernatural world. The beginning, Bella's new life in Forks. The story begins with Isabella Bella Swan, a quiet, thoughtful 17-year-old girl who moves from sunny Phoenix, Arizona, to the small, rainy town of Forks, Washington. She chooses to live with her father, Charlie Swan, the local police chief, so that her mother can travel freely with her new husband. Bella struggles to adjust to Forks. The town is cold, gray, and very different from her old home. At school, she quickly attracts attention from several students because she's new, including Mike Newton, Jessica Stanley, and Jacob Black, a friendly boy from the nearby Quileute tribe. But one student stands out, Edward Cullen. Edward is different. Extremely pale, incredibly beautiful, reserved, and distant. At first, he acts strangely around Bella, almost like he is angry or scared of her. This confuses and hurts Bella, but also makes her deeply curious. Later, Edward suddenly changes his behavior and becomes protective and kind toward her. The first big clue, Edward's secret. One day, Bella is nearly crushed by a skidding van in a school parking lot. In a shocking moment, Edward stops a van with one hand, saving her life. Bella is certain this is not normal human strength. Soon after, Bella almost gets attacked by a group of dangerous men in a dark alley. Out of nowhere, Edward appears and saves her again, revealing superhuman speed. Bella becomes obsessed with uncovering the truth. She researches supernatural legends and Quileute tribal stories. Eventually, she travels to a nearby beach with friends, where Jacob tells her old tribal legends about a cold one, a vampire who doesn't hunt the tribe. Bella pieces everything together and finally confronts Edward in a forest. That's when he admits the truth, greater than I'm a vampire. But unlike traditional vampires, Edward and his family do not kill humans. Instead, they drink animal blood and call themselves vegetarians. Edward explains that he was turned into a vampire in 1918 by Dr. Edward Cullen, who saved his life. Carlisle later created a vampire family with Esme, his wife, and their adopted children, Rosalie, Emmett, Alice, and Jasper. The love story deepens. Despite knowing the danger, Bella chooses to stay close to Edward. Their love grows rapidly and intensely. Edward introduces Bella to his family. They already know about her, and opinions are mixed. Alice is excited and hopeful. Esme is warm and motherly. Carlisle is calm and supportive. Rosalie is cold and disapproving. Jasper is nervous and struggles to control his thirst. Edward constantly warns Bella about the danger of being near him, but Bella insists that she feels safe with him. The baseball game and the arrival of danger. One of the most memorable scenes happens during a thunderstorm, where the Cullen family plays vampire baseball. They use thunder to hide the sound of the ball being hit. While they are playing, 3 nomadic vampires arrive: James, a sadistic and gifted tracker; Victoria, a mysterious and loyal to James; Lauren, a calmer and curious. James immediately becomes obsessed with Bella. He realizes she is human and decides to hunt her for sport. Unlike Edward's family, James has no moral code. The Cullens realize Bella's life is now in serious danger. The chase, Bella becomes the target. To protect Bella, the Cullens sent her away with Alice and Jasper, while Edward and the others try to track James. Bella is taken to Phoenix, believing she will be safer there. But James is smarter than expected. He tracks Bella's scent and finds her. James tricks Bella by pretending to have kidnapped her mother. He lures Bella to an old ballet studio, using video to manipulate her emotions. Bella goes there alone without telling Edward, thinking she can save her mother. The ballet studio fight, climax scene. Inside the ballet studio, Bella realizes too late that she has fallen into a trap. James appears and attacks her brutally. He breaks her leg, bites her hand and wrist. The bite begins to turn Bella into a vampire, as venom spreads through her bloodstream. Just in time, Edward, Carlisle, Emmett, Jasper, and Alice arrive. They rip James apart and burn his remains to ensure he can't come back. Edward then makes the hardest decision of his life: to suck out the venom from Bella's body without killing her himself. He barely holds back but succeeds, saving her humanity. The ending, prom night. Bella wakes up in a hospital with her father beside her. She lies about what happened. The story ends at the school prom. Bella wears a beautiful dress and dances with Edward. Bella asks Edward to turn her into a vampire so they can be together forever. Edward refuses, saying he doesn't want to take away her soul. The film ends with their love stronger than ever. Danger still looming. And Victoria watching them silently from afar, setting up the 18th birthday, a day she dreads, not because of age, but because she is growing older while Edward Cullen remains forever 17. Despite her reluctance, the Cullens host a birthday celebration for her at their home, surrounded by the vampires she considers family. Bella tries to enjoy the evening, but a small accident changes everything. While opening a gift, Bella gets a minor paper cut. In an instant, Jasper, the newest Cullen to adopt a vegetarian lifestyle, lunges toward her. Overwhelmed by bloodlust, Edward throws Bella out of harm's way, but she crashes into a glass table, cutting her arm deeply. Carlisle treats her wound, explaining the curse of immortality and the meaning of compassion, but Edward is shaken. He believes he is putting Bella's life in continuous danger. Over the next few days, Edward grows cold and distant. Then, in the woods behind Bella's house, he delivers the devastating blow. The Cullens are leaving Forksea and he doesn't want her anymore. Bella collapses in the forest after desperately chasing him. Hours later, Sammy finds her and brings her home. What follows is one of the movie's most iconic sequences. Bella sits in her room, motionless, as the months pass. October, November, December, each marked by silent agony and loneliness. Bella falls into a deep depression, isolating herself from friends and family. Charlie, worried for her mental state, urges her to reconnect with life. He even suggests she move to her mother's house in Florida. To prove she is okay, Bella agrees to go out with her friend Jessica. During this outing, Bella experiences something shocking. When she confronts a group of suspicious men, she suddenly sees Edward, an apparition warning her to stay safe. She realizes these visions appear only when she puts herself in danger. Craving any form of connection to Edward, Bella begins seeking out risky activities. She finds 2 old motorbikes and brings them to Jacob Black in La Push, knowing he can fix them. Jacob, now older, stronger, and warmer both emotionally and physically, becomes her escape from grief. Their friendship grows quickly, full of laughter and comfort, a stark contrast to the emptiness she feels elsewhere. Jacob begins developing deep feelings for Bella, but she is too broken to reciprocate fully. As they spend more time together, Jacob reveals cryptic hints about a gang in La Pusha, the same group led by Samali. Jacob fears he might have to join them, and Bella fears losing another person she cares about. After a sudden argument, Jacob disappears for several days. When Bella confronts him, she finds him transformed. His hair is cut, his body is stronger, and he looks exhausted and conflicted. He tells her he can't be around her anymore, echoing Edward's painful words of it without explaining why. Bella is devastated all over again. Soon after, Bella encounters a massive wolf in the woods while being chased by Laron, a vampire from James' old coven. Laron intends to kill her, claiming Victoria wants revenge for James's death and plans to make Bella suffer. Before Laron can attack, a pack of giant wolves intervenes and kills him. Confused and terrified, Bella learns the truth. Jacob and several members of the Quileute tribe are werewolves, protectors of their land from vampires. Jacob explains that their transformations were triggered by Victoria's presence and the rising danger surrounding Bella. As a werewolf, he is forbidden to reveal certain secrets, but he tells Bella that he would never hurt her. Meanwhile, Victoria begins hunting Bella relentlessly, leading to a series of attempted attacks. The werewolves keep watch around Forks, protecting Bella whenever she wanders too far into dangerous territory. Trying to feel alive again, Bella attempts cliff diving, a reckless tradition of the La Push boys. She leaps alone into the roaring ocean, not realizing a storm is approaching. Underwater, she sees a haunting vision of Edward reaching for her. The current drags her deeper until she nearly drowns. At the last second, Jacob pulls her lifeless body from the waves and revives her. Just when Bella begins to breathe again, Alice suddenly returns to Forks. She had a vision of Bella jumping off the cliff and believed she had died. When Edward hears of Bella's death from Rosalie, He is shattered, unable to bear life without her. He decides to go to the Volturi in Italy, ancient vampire rulers, and provoke them into killing him. Alice tells Bella there is no time. Bella insists she must go. They travel to Voltra, racing against the clock. Edward plans to reveal himself in the sunlight during St. Marcus Day, a festival where people dress in red cloaks, a poetic contrast to the pale vampire stepping into the sun. As Edward begins to walk out shirtless into the bright square, Bella desperately pushes through the crowd, reaching him at the last second. She throws herself into his arms, and he realizes she is alive. The reunion is emotional, raw, and filled with disbelief, but their relief is short-lived. The Volturi guards capture them, taking Bella, Edward, and Alice inside the Volturi castle. There, they meet Aro, Marcus, and Keys, who evaluate Bella's strange immunity to supernatural abilities. Aro, fascinated, demands that Bella eventually become a vampire. If not, she cannot be allowed to know the vampire secret. Alice shows Aro a vision of Bella as a vampire in the future, convincing him they will keep their promise. They are allowed to leave, though not without a warning. Back in Forks, the tension between Jacob and the Cullens intensifies. Jacob reminds Edward that the treaty will be broken if Bella is turned. Bella insists she wants to be immortal with Edward. This leads to a vote among the Cullens, who overwhelmingly support Bella's transformation, even Rosalie, though reluctantly. Still, Jacob refuses to accept Bella's choice, feeling betrayed. The wolves continue to watch the borders for Victoria, who remains at large. Finally, in the woods, after everything they have endured, a heartbreak, danger, and near death, Edward tells Bella he left only to protect her, believing she would be safer without him. He promises never to leave her again. Bella forgives him, knowing she still loves him unconditionally. The film ends with Edward asking the question Bella never expected so soon: "Marry me?" Before she can answer, the screen cuts to black, ending the second chapter of their supernatural love story. The Twilight Saga, Eclipse continues the story immediately in a darker and more dangerous atmosphere, opening in Seattle, where a series of violent and unexplained killings spreads fear across the city. Humans see these events as random crimes, but in the supernatural world the truth is far more terrifying. A growing army of newborn vampires is being created in secret, their uncontrolled strength and thirst for blood leaving chaos in their wake. These killings are not accidental. They are part of a carefully planned act of revenge orchestrated by Victoria, a vampire driven entirely by grief and hatred after the death of her mate James, who was killed by the Cullens to protect Bella Swan. Victoria's only goal is to make Bella suffer and die, and she is willing to start a war to achieve it. Bella Swan is now nearing the end of her human life in a very literal sense. She is finishing high school and preparing for graduation, while also facing the reality that she will soon have to choose between remaining human or becoming a vampire. Her love for Edward Cullen is stronger than ever, but that love comes with fear. Edward wants to turn Bella into a vampire only after she marries him, believing marriage is a moral obligation before granting immortality. Bella, however, is deeply uncomfortable with the idea of marriage at such a young age and fears becoming something unnatural, frozen forever at 18. This disagreement causes tension between them, revealing that love alone does not erase fundamental differences. At the same time, Bella's connection to Jacob Black grows increasingly complicated. Jacob is no longer just her best friend, he is a powerful werewolf, a protector of his people, and someone who loves her openly and passionately. When Bella is with Jacob, she feels warmth, safety, and a sense of belonging to the human world she is about to leave behind. Jacob represents everything Edward cannot give her: sunlight, normal aging, and a life rooted in humanity. Bella struggles with guilt because she knows her presence gives Jacob hope, even though she cannot promise him the future he wants. The tension between vampires and werewolves is higher than ever. The Quileute wolf pack, sworn to protect humans from vampires, senses the newborn army moving closer to their territory. Patrols increase, tempers flare, and the old treaty between the wolves and the Cullens is constantly at risk of breaking. Jacob, now a leading figure within the pack, feels the weight of responsibility not only to protect Bella but also to safeguard his people from a threat that could destroy them all. Victoria, meanwhile, is shown manipulating a young man named Riley Beers, whom she turns into a vampire and convinces that she loves him. In reality, Riley is nothing more than a pawn. Victoria uses him to recruit and control newborn vampires, exploiting their confusion and thirst to build an army capable of overwhelming the Cullens. She trains them ruthlessly, hiding the truth about their fate and feeding them lies about loyalty and survival. Her intelligence and patience make her far more dangerous than a reckless killer. She is a strategist fueled by obsession. As Bella tries to balance her relationships, the emotional conflict between Edward and Jacob becomes unavoidable. Jacob refuses to give up on Bella and challenges Edward directly, arguing that Bella's heart is not as certain as Edward believes. Edward, able to hear Bella's thoughts, knows Jacob is right, which only deepens his pain. Bella is forced to confront feelings she has long tried to ignore. She loves Jacob, not in the same way she loves Edward, but in a way that is real and powerful nonetheless. This realization frightens her, because it means her choice will hurt someone deeply no matter what she decides. One of the most intense moments occurs when Jacob kisses Bella without her consent, convinced that forcing her to acknowledge her feelings will change her mind. Bella reacts in anger and pain, striking Jacob and breaking her own hand against his supernatural strength. The incident exposes the flaws and raw emotions of all three characters and marks a turning point where denial is no longer possible. Bella can no longer pretend that her love triangle is harmless or easily resolved. As graduation approaches, the Cullens host a party meant to celebrate Bella's human milestone. The event carries an eerie sense of calm before the storm. During the gathering, Jasper Cullen explains the history of vampire wars and newborn armies, revealing his own dark past as a soldier who once trained newborns for battle. His experience becomes crucial, as it confirms that the threat facing them is not just dangerous, but catastrophic if left unchecked. The celebration feels fragile, as if everyone knows it may be the last moment of peace they share. When the reality of the newborn army can no longer be denied, an unprecedented decision is made. The Cullens and the Quileute werewolves agree to form an alliance. Centuries of hatred and mistrust are temporarily set aside for survival. They begin training together, learning each other's strengths and weaknesses, preparing for a battle that will test both groups to their limits. The alliance is tense, but necessary. Alone, neither side could stand against an army of newborn vampires driven by bloodlust. To protect Bella during the battle, a plan is formed to hide her far from the fighting, deep in the mountains. Edward and Jacob are assigned to guard her together, forcing them into close proximity despite their rivalry. As a storm rages around them, emotions finally boil over. Jacob overhears Bella confess that although she loves him, she loves Edward more. Devastated, Jacob decides that his life no longer matters and plans to sacrifice himself in the coming fight. Desperate to stop him, Bella finally admits the depth of her feelings for him and kisses him, hoping it will give him a reason to live. The moment is heartbreaking and clarifying. Bella understands that she will always care for Jacob, but Edward is the one she cannot exist without. The battle begins in the snowy mountains as the newborn army attacks with brutal force. The fighting is fast, violent, and relentless. Newborn vampires are stronger than experienced ones, but they lack discipline and strategy. Jasper takes command, using his military experience to direct the Cullens, while Alice's visions help them anticipate attacks. The werewolves fight with savage loyalty, their strength and speed turning the tide of battle. One by one, the newborns are destroyed, their bodies torn apart in a clash that feels more like war than survival. While the main battle rages, Victoria and Riley attempt to bypass the fight and reach Bella directly. Edward intercepts them with the help of Seth Clearwater, a young and courageous wolf. Riley, realizing too late that Victoria never loved him, is killed by Edward. Victoria fights with desperate fury, pushing Edward to his limits, but her obsession ultimately becomes her weakness. With Seth's help, Edward destroys Victoria, ending her long quest for revenge. The battle ends with victory, though not without cost. Several wolves are injured, and the emotional scars run deep. The alliance between vampires and werewolves holds, proving that unity is possible even between sworn enemies. Jacob survives but is left heartbroken, finally accepting that Bella's choice is not him. Bella, having faced the full weight of her emotions, chooses Edward completely, understanding the sacrifices that choice demands. In the aftermath, Edward proposes to Bella once again, and this time she accepts. She agrees to marriage into the future Edward offers, fully aware that it means leaving her human life behind forever. Eclipse concludes not with complete peace, but with resolution. Bella's choice is made, the war is over, and the path forward is set, leading directly into the final chapter of the saga where love, sacrifice, and destiny will collide on an even greater scale. The Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1 follows Bella Swan at the moment when her life changes forever as she prepares to marry Edward Cullen. The story begins with Bella feeling a mixture of happiness and fear as the wedding approaches. Although she loves Edward deeply, she knows that marrying him means she is stepping closer to becoming a vampire and leaving her human life behind forever. The Cullen family prepares an elegant wedding ceremony in the forest, combining beauty, calm, and an underlying tension between vampires and werewolves. Bella's father Charlie struggles emotionally with the idea of his daughter growing up and leaving him, while Edward remains nervous but deeply devoted. Before the wedding, Bella shares painful moments with Jacob Black, who is clearly devastated. Jacob still loves Bella and believes she is making a terrible mistake. He warns her that marrying Edward and becoming a vampire will cost her everything, including her soul and her future. Bella is torn by guilt but remains firm in her decision, even though it hurts Jacob deeply. The wedding ceremony itself is emotional and unforgettable. Bella walks down the aisle surrounded by nature, symbolizing the end of her human life and the beginning of her immortal one. Edward waits for her with visible emotion, and when they exchange vows, their promises emphasize choice, eternity, and unconditional love. Despite the happiness of the moment, there is a sense that something irreversible has begun. After the ceremony, Bella says goodbye to her human life, her father, and her old identity, knowing she can never return to the person she once was. Edward and Bella leave for their honeymoon on Islesme, a private island gifted to them by Carlisle. The island represents freedom, isolation, and danger. Edward is extremely cautious, terrified that his vampire strength could hurt Bella. Their relationship, which has been restrained for so long, finally becomes physical. Their first night together is passionate but violent, leaving Bella bruised and Edward horrified by what he has done. Bella, however, is not afraid and wants to continue, showing how deeply she desires a life fully shared with Edward, even if it means pain. Their honeymoon continues in happiness until Bella begins to feel strange changes in her body. Soon after returning home, Bella realizes she is pregnant. The pregnancy is unnatural and progresses at an alarming speed. The baby grows rapidly, draining Bella's strength and causing her body to weaken dramatically. Edward is devastated and believes the child is killing Bella from the inside. He becomes desperate to save her life and considers removing the fetus, even against Bella's wishes. Bella, however, forms an intense emotional connection to the unborn child and refuses to give it up. She believes the baby is a miracle and is willing to die to protect it. This decision divides the Cullen family. Edward is consumed by fear and guilt, while Carlisle tries to find a medical solution to save Bella. Rosalie, who has always wanted a child of her own, sides strongly with Bella and becomes her protector. This creates tension within the family, as some believe Bella's choice is too dangerous. Meanwhile, Bella's physical condition worsens rapidly. She becomes thin, pale, and fragile, barely able to move. Edward listens to the baby's thoughts and realizes that the child is intelligent and loves Bella, which slowly changes his perspective and fills him with both fear and wonder. When Jacob learns about Bella's pregnancy, he reacts with anger and disbelief. The werewolf pack views the unborn child as a dangerous threat and votes to kill Bella and the baby to protect their people. Jacob refuses to accept this decision and breaks away from the pack, choosing instead to protect Bella at all costs. His choice isolates him from his brothers but shows the depth of his love and loyalty. Jacob forms an uneasy alliance with the Cullens, standing guard to protect Bella from the werewolves who want her dead. As the pregnancy advances, Bella's condition becomes terrifying. Her bones weaken, her spine bends, and her heartbeat grows faint. She drinks blood to survive, which strengthens her slightly, but it is clear that her body cannot endure the birth. Edward is tormented by the thought that Bella will die and blames himself for everything. The atmosphere becomes darker and more desperate as everyone waits for the inevitable moment. The birth arrives suddenly and violently. Bella goes into labor and experiences unbearable pain as the baby's strength breaks her ribs from the inside. Edward performs an emergency delivery using his vampire abilities, cutting Bella open to save the baby. Bella loses massive amounts of blood and begins to die. The baby, a beautiful half-vampire, half-human girl named Renesmee, is born healthy and calm. However, Bella collapses, lifeless, and her heart stops beating. Edward, refusing to accept her death, injects his venom directly into her heart and bites her repeatedly in a desperate attempt to transform her and save her life. Jacob, believing Bella is dead, is overwhelmed by grief and rage. He prepares to kill Renesmee, blaming her for Bella's death. However, the moment he looks into the baby's eyes, he imprints on her. This supernatural bond instantly connects him to Renesmee and gives him an overwhelming need to protect her. The imprinting ends the conflict between the vampires and the werewolves, as the pack cannot harm someone Jacob is bonded to. This moment changes everything and ensures Renesmee's safety. As Bella lies motionless, the venom begins to spread through her body, initiating her transformation into a vampire. Her body reacts violently, but Edward remains by her side, believing she can still survive. The film ends with Bella opening her eyes, now glowing red, signaling that she has completed her transformation. Bella Swan is gone, and Bella Cullen has been born. This final moment marks the end of her human life and sets the stage for the next chapter, where her new existence as a vampire will be fully revealed. The story begins with Bella Swan awakening into her new existence as a vampire, her human heartbeat gone and replaced by an overwhelming rush of heightened senses. Every sound is amplified, every color is sharper, and every movement feels effortless and precise. Edward watches her closely, fearing she might lose control like most newborn vampires, but Bella immediately proves everyone wrong. She shows extraordinary self-control, resisting human blood and maintaining clarity and calm in a way Carlyle has never seen before. For the first time in her life, Bella feels complete, strong, and perfectly balanced, no longer fragile or clumsy but powerful and confident in her new body. As she adjusts, Bella discovers she has developed a unique supernatural ability, a mental shield that blocks others from entering her mind. Unlike Edward's mind reading or Alice's visions, Bella's power allows her to protect herself from psychic attacks. With practice, she realizes she can extend this shield outward, protecting Edward and others around her, a skill that will soon become essential. Bella then fully meets her daughter Renesmee as a vampire and sees her with new clarity. Renesmee is growing at an unnatural rate, aging rapidly but remaining gentle, intelligent, and emotionally aware far beyond her physical age. She communicates by touching others and sharing her memories and thoughts. Jacob Black, who has imprinted on Renesmee, remains constantly by her side as her devoted protector. Though this imprinting initially creates tension, Bella comes to understand that Jacob's bond with Renesmee is rooted in protection and loyalty rather than romance, and it ultimately unites the Cullens and the werewolves into an uneasy but necessary alliance. While the Cullens enjoy a brief moment of peace, danger begins to grow. Irina of the Denali Coven sees Renesmee from a distance and mistakenly believes she is an immortal child. In vampire law, immortal children are forbidden because they cannot control themselves and risk exposing the secret vampire world to humans. Acting out of fear and grief, Irina reports the Cullens to the Volturi, the ancient and merciless rulers of vampire society. The Volturi interpret this as a serious violation and prepare to destroy Renesmee, the Cullens, and anyone who stands with them. Alice foresees the Volturi's arrival and suddenly disappears with Jasper, leaving behind confusion and fear but hinting that she is searching for something crucial. Realizing they cannot defeat the Volturi by force, the Cullens begin traveling the world to gather witnesses. Their goal is not war, but proof that Renesmee is not immortal and poses no threat. Vampires from different covens arrive, each bringing strength, unique abilities, and credibility. At the same time, the werewolves choose to stand with the Cullens, setting aside centuries of hatred to protect Renesmee. As the Volturi approach, Bella trains relentlessly, learning to strengthen and expand her shield to protect as many people as possible, especially against Jane and Alec, whose powers inflict unbearable pain and sensory paralysis. Bella's rapid mastery of her abilities astonishes everyone, and she fully transforms into a protector and leader rather than someone who needs protection. Winter arrives, and the Volturi finally appear. The two sides meet in a frozen clearing, surrounded by silence and tension. Aro, the curious and manipulative Volturi leader, demands to see the child. Renesmee steps forward bravely, holding Bella's hand. When Aro touches Renesmee, he sees her memories clearly at her birth, her accelerated growth, and her future. He realizes she will continue aging until maturity and is not an immortal child. For a brief moment, it seems the conflict might end peacefully, but Keys, driven by fear and obsession with control, argues that Renesmee could still become a future threat. Irina steps forward, finally understanding her mistake and admitting she falsely accused the Cullens, but instead of mercy, the Volturi execute her instantly as punishment, proving their cruelty and absolute authority. Just as war appears inevitable, Alice suddenly returns with a half-human, half-vampire hybrid named Neil. Neil explains that he was created in the same way as Renesmee and has grown into a stable, intelligent adult without endangering vampire secrecy. When Aro sees Neil's memories, the truth becomes undeniable. Still, Aro hesitates because he sees visions of the future where Bella's shield grows stronger and renders the Volturi powerless. Alice then shows Aro a terrifying vision of what will happen if the Volturi choose to fight. In this vision, a massive battle erupts, beloved characters are brutally destroyed, including Carlisle, and even Aro himself is killed, leaving the battlefield in chaos and devastation. The vision ends abruptly, revealing that the battle never actually happened. Faced with the certainty of their own destruction, the Volturi retreat, choosing survival over domination. Peace finally returns. The witnesses and allies depart, their purpose fulfilled. Renesmee's future is secure, and Jacob remains bound to her as her loyal guardian. Bella fully embraces her new life and her role within her family. In a quiet, intimate moment, Bella lowers her shield and allows Edward to hear her thoughts for the first time, sharing her love, memories, and certainty with him. The story ends in the meadow where it all began, as Bella reflects that she has found her place, her family, and her eternity. The saga concludes not with tragedy or war, but with love, unity, and forever.